to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. A few announcements before we get started. There was no action taken on the following 3 closed sessions held last week, September 25th of 2007. A closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9b2, conference with legal counsel deciding whether or not basis exists for anticipated litigation, one case. A closed session held pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9b1, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation, one case. And a closed session conference with real property negotiators, various APNs, agency negotiator, county administrative officer, or alternate to be determined, negotiating parties, Ryan Voorhees, Greg Lipinski, under negotiation, instruction to negotiator regarding potential purchase price and financing options. And welcome Brent Harrington. Welcome aboard, Brent.
Thank you.
And this will move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They'll be acted upon by the board at any one time without discussion. Any board member, staff member, or interested party may request removal of an item from the consent agenda for later discussion. Board members?
Item 6.
Any others? Okay. Staff. Any staff want to remove an item for further discussion? Any member of the public? Okay, is there a motion for the remainder of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item number 6, Marita.
Yes, I'd like to very much thank the women of the county for being here and wearing pink, and for the men of the county to support the women in Breast Cancer Awareness Month. There has been, the good news is there's been a reduction in breast cancer. Now it's 1 in 7 women over the age of 40 will get breast cancer. Now, does that sound like good news? Well, yes, because it used to be close to 50%. 2 out of 3 women who get breast cancer will survive. That's good news. It used to be 50% of the women will survive. I learned something new. I went to Mark Twain Hospital this past week for a luncheon for breast cancer awareness, and I learned that it can also be passed through the genes of the father, because we always think of it being your mother, your sister, your aunt. But it could be the mother, the sister, the aunt, through the father. So I do encourage all of you to tell the women in your life, be they sisters, daughters, wives, lovers, friends, if they're over the age of 40, to please get their mammograms. That is one of the best ways to test it. And if they're under 40 and they have that gene in their family, to see their family doctor, because we're making a dent. And damn it. I thought, okay, I'm not wearing waterproof mascara today.
I won the $5 bet.
If there isn't a woman in this room now who has breast cancer, there will be a woman in this room who will get breast cancer. So I encourage all of you to do what you can to support the women in your lives. And men can have breast cancer too, but it's only 3 to 5% of the men get breast cancer. But get your mammograms and encourage those women in your life to get them too. And we use this month to push the subject. So, we've all walked at Relay for Life, I know every member on this board has walked in Relay for Life. So this is just another way to show your support. And again, thank you very much for coming and for wearing pink. I move this item.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We'll be in recess for about 4 minutes until 9:10. Moving right along.
I tried.
Thank you. Call the meeting back to order. Item number 7, public comment. Is there any member of the audience who would like to address the board on any item that is not on today's agenda? And please sign in and identify yourself for the record, please.
Morning, my name is Ed Pattison. I'm the Water Resources Manager with Calaveras County Water District. And I only want to take a brief moment of your morning. I wanted to let you know that CCWD is very interested in a potential grant funding opportunity from the Department of Water Resources Local Groundwater Assistance Program. As you know, groundwater management is important in Calaveras County, and Calaveras County Water District adopted a AB 3030 groundwater management plan in 2001 and updated that in 2005, and has been sporadically, for various reasons, trying to implement a more proactive groundwater management program in the Comanche Valley Springs area. Governor Schwarzenegger included funding of another round of AB 303 programs in his current budget, and this upcoming due date for this grant is around mid-December. To be eligible for funding under this grant, we need to update our SB 1938 groundwater management plan. And basically the reason I'm here this morning is to let you know that we will be working on doing that over the next couple of months. There's going to be a number of postings in the local papers, probably an evening public meeting to talk about what a groundwater management plan entails and what we're proposing to do with this AB 303 grant should we receive it. And then later, around early December at CCWD's board meeting, we will have an agenda item considering adoption of that groundwater management plan update. And as a part of this concept proposal that we hope to submit to DWR by mid-December, we're hoping that Calaveras County will partner with CCWD in this effort. We are committed to doing the application. I've spoke with Brian Moss, your environmental health director. He's excited about the opportunity, but time constrained. So we're likely going to do most, if not all, the effort for this application with an opportunity for review by staff at Calaveras County if you're interested. But this is just a real brief summary of what we're hoping to do over the next couple of months. And I'm sure that we'll continue to engage in dialogue about how we can partner on this upcoming important grant opportunity for Northwest Calaveras County. Thanks. I had one other thing I wanted to present. Last night I was at the NRCS Soils Workshop in Sonora. And I don't know if any of you had seen the articles in the local paper, but it was a very enlightening discussion about what the NRCS is doing in Tuolumne and Calaveras counties. NRCS was formerly known as the Soil Conservation Service. It was created in the 30s, and they're commissioned, among other things, with managing the nation's soils. One of the information gaps in their national database is Tuolumne and Calaveras County. They haven't updated soils information since the 60s, and right now they're just embarking on a wide sweeping soil survey for Calaveras and Tuolumne counties, And in my view, it's an important opportunity that we shouldn't miss. They're encouraging private landowners to contact NRCS. They provide a soil survey for free. Many farmers, which I come from that background, spend thousands of dollars to learn about their soils on their land, and NRCS is willing to do it for free. They just need the private landowner's approval. And I have a little information here. I only have one copy, and I'll leave it with the board secretary, but it provides further information if any private landowners are interested in the NRCS doing a soil survey on their land. Thanks.
Do you know if they have an outreach program to the ag departments and the Farm Bureau? And
I believe they do. I asked the RCD there in Tuolumne County why Calaveras County wasn't there, and she mentioned that she provided a lot of communication and outreach to Calaveras County, and I was the only person to show up. So I don't understand why.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Good morning. Lynette Norfolk, Treasurer, Tax Collector. Welcome, Brent. I'd like to take this opportunity to announce that the 2007-08 property tax bills are in the mail. And they've been being mailed since Friday. And anyone who hasn't received a tax bill should contact the office as soon as possible so that they aren't looking at December 10th and the phones being busy and things of that nature. Everyone who owns property, whether they have a loan or not on the property where the bank pays their taxes, should be sent and should be receiving a property tax bill, just for information purposes for those folks that have loan impounds. But just as a public interest note, they're in the mail.
Lynn, could you put a follow-up for December 4 to remind
That's a good idea. Yeah.
the public and board?
Yeah.
And-
There's also,
And to remind Tom Tryon.
oh yeah.
I know he likes to hand carry.
Taxes are in time.
Yes, they are.
He hand carries them. And it's 5 o'clock, is it?
At 5
Pardon
o'clock.
me?
5 p.m.?
5 p.m.
It's 5 p.m.,
on
Tom.
December 10th is in the office, or a postmark of December 10th, or all adequate timely payments. So, any questions? Thank you. Pay your taxes.
Thank you, Lynn.
A tandem.
Good morning, Shirley Ryan.
And Karen Barney, and we are here today representing Sir Optimist International, Calaveras County. We are co-chairs of the Festival of Trees Gala event. And
Sir Optimist International is a service organization of businesswomen working to make a difference in the lives of women and children throughout our community and throughout the world. And we're celebrating our 10th anniversary of Festival of Trees. Festival of Trees, for those of you who have not attended in the past, is a black tie gala held November 17th with the teddy bear tea on November 18th. And this is our annual fundraiser to raise funds to support our programs such as scholarships for high school seniors, Making a Difference for Women Award, Twilight Wishes, which helps fund or helps with wishes for our senior citizens, and our signature project, Touching Lives, which helps meet unmet medically related needs for members of our community. This year we're partnering as a special, we're doing something a little bit different this year. We've invited some members in organizations in our community to partner with us and help and reap immediately the benefits of having a tree or a bench that we'll auction off on their behalf. And some of those are the Calaveras Volunteer Center, Watch Resources, Mark Twain Hospital Foundation, Rotary International of Angels Murphys, Human Resource Council, DNA Hospice, Calaveras Youth Mentoring, Common Ground Senior Services, and Hospice of Amador. And so we have today invitations to our Black Tie Gala for all of you, and hope you can join us on November 17th or 18th. Thank you.
November 17th, where, Shirley?
At Ironstone's Vineyards.
Thank you.
Good morning. Clay Hawkins from the Sheriff's Office. I wanted to spend a couple minutes this morning. I distributed to you the first-year report for the Calaveras County Sheriff's Office Multi-Agency Methamphetamine Enforcement Team, also known as CalMet. If you remember, about 18 months ago, we were sitting in this room with a board presentation to you on a task force that Supervisor Walensky and Jeannie Boyce had shared that did some research for the better part of a year that looked at the impact of methamphetamine use in the county. From that data, we applied to the state and received a 2-year grant funding. The team was actually funded this past February, and the team went into operation March 17th. So what I've distributed to you is to give you a status report from March 17th to June 30th in the last fiscal year. In the inside of the report, I just gave you just a quick kind of a bullet point. And as I get older, I think I got to make, I was telling the sheriff, the font bigger. So that's why the font is big for me, so I can read it in for you. But I thought I'd go over a couple of points. It's pretty staggering what the information has said in the last 11 weeks. 223 methamphetamine-related investigations, of which 70 were completed. 58 methamphetamine arrests, 31 probation revocations. Those were people on probation that violated their probation because of methamphetamine and drug use, as well as crime occurrence. 12 search warrants served, 13 weapons confiscated from the street, 2 pounds of methamphetamine seized in 11 weeks. The other part of the program, besides the criminal enforcement side, you remember the major impact of the CalMet program was to incorporate a full-time social worker into the team. And we've been really pleased with the stats and where that point of the program is going. 52 methamphetamine-related child neglect cases were opened and investigated. 22 of those resulted in a child being removed in a home because of parental methamphetamine and substance abuse, resulting in child neglect. And that's the real tug heart of the program, that we're attempting to identify, remove, and then follow up and provide mental health counseling and medical treatment for children that we find in these terrible drug-endangered homes. The last point on there, I just wanted to point out that hair follicle testing protocols have now been approved, and so the social workers actually taking hair follicle sampling from children in the field, and we're seeing some real surprising results from that. The long and short of that is, in a year, we ought to have a pretty good database of what that says in terms of children being exposed to chemical precursors and drugs in the home, and how that affects them both emotionally, mentally, educationally, and in their development. Any questions?
Clay, I just happened to turn to this map.
Scary.
It is.
Yeah.
Calaveras has a high rate of child abuse and neglect referrals. Is that all kinds of cases, or just?
That's child neglect from the statewide social services case management reporting system. The county's pretty consistently ranked within the top 10 to 12 counties in the state for the number of per capita child neglect and abuse cases.
But that's all kinds, not just meth.
Correct. I've broken some of the data down into general child neglect cases, which includes drug-endangered children. And again, we're a pretty high proportion among the counties, which is the huge element of the CalMet program is the social service side. So we're not only doing criminal enforcement, we're taking the children out of the home and providing them treatment and long-term follow-up.
Clay, pertaining to that, as I recall from the original statistics that were compiled, we found that over 70 and maybe as high as 78% of the child abuse cases in this county had a meth connection.
Right.
Is that still the case?
Correct. It will be interesting once we can get a couple more months under our belt with hair follicle testing, just to really see what the impact is for children in the community and what proportion of those are exposed to chemical and drug precursors. Anything else?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you and the other folks involved. It actually is beginning to have a direct effect on quality of life in a number of communities. The intervention in Moke Hill, for instance, has really changed people's sense of security and safety there. We've found the same in West Point and other areas where this team has been very effective, and it really is making a difference out there.
Good. Thank you.
It's just an item of curiosity here, Clay. For those folks that don't have this map in front of them or maybe watching, it just strikes me as ironic, if not just curious, that the ratings are low, medium, high, and high, and it appears that on average the highest are the rural counties, those that are sparsely populated, and those population centers are low, which is sort of the opposite of what some folks might think without this data.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
And if you remember the research that the task force had put together, if you remember, we had interviewed jail inmates, and then NACO had come out with a nationwide survey of jail inmates based on methamphetamine use and what the population distribution was, and we ranked within the top 40% of the counties in the country for the number of inmates in custody who were there because of methamphetamine use. So it was methamphetamine is pervasive all throughout the community, educationally, all socioeconomics, and a good portion of crime being caused by it. Anything else?
Very interesting. No. Think so?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Clay. Is there any other member of the public that wishes to address the board on an item not on today's agenda? Very well. We'll move along to item number 8, discussion and possible action regarding a resolution proclaiming October 2007 as Sudden Infant Death Syndrome Awareness Month in Calaveras County.
Good morning. Colleen Tracy with Public Health Department. Sudden infant death syndrome is basically the unexpected death of an infant for which no other apparent cause can be found. And it's a diagnosis of exclusion. It is actually a recognized medical disorder. And it is diagnosed following an autopsy, an examination of the death scene, usually involving law enforcement, and a review of the infant's and the family's medical histories. SIDS is a major cause of death in infants between 1 to 12 months of age. Most of the deaths occur to 2 to 4-month-olds, and about 95% of all SIDS deaths occur to infants under 6 months of age. It's sudden and it's silent. It's an apparently healthy infant. It's frequently associated with sleep, and a common scenario is a parent or a child caregiver who puts a child down for a nap or to sleep for the night and then returns to find the child has died, suddenly and silently. Obviously, then, it's an infant death that has a lot of unanswered questions for parents, which really serves to intensify the grief process for families, and also is more likely to result in guilt that the families need assistance with. We know what doesn't cause SIDS. We know it's not caused by suffocation. It's not a child choking. It's not a child vomiting. It's not a illness, an infectious illness that kills a child. The models of SIDS causation focus on 3 major risk factors. One is that you have an infant who has a very subtle abnormality in parts of the nervous system that control breathing and heart rate. Not noticeable, an apparently healthy infant, but with a subtle abnormality. Second risk is that you have a child who in the 6 first months of life is undergoing just a rapid development phase. All of the organ systems, the nervous system, are developing rapidly. And that includes the systems that govern body temperature, heart rate, respiration. And then the third risk area is really external variables: exposure to tobacco smoke, overheating, a baby sleeping prone or on its stomach. Those 3 factors: a vulnerable infant, but not apparently so, a time period of rapid development of systems that govern respiration, body temperature, heart rate, etc., and then an external stressor, really means that SIDS is not preventable. It is, however, that third area of risk, the external stressors, that can be addressed to reduce the risk of an infant, and that risk is for a sudden death of a baby. So there's 3 major areas, behavioral areas, that can reduce the risk of SIDS. And they're pretty straightforward and actually pretty simple. Putting a baby, putting him or her down to sleep on a firm mattress on their back, making sure a baby has a smoke-free environment, and keeping a baby from being overheated. The number of SIDS deaths in the United States since the mid-1990s has fallen by about 50%. They're still the leading cause of infant death, and there's still about 2,100 deaths that occur in the United States, about 170 deaths in California. And in Calaveras County, we had a SIDS death in 2002, 2005, and 2007. The major factor in the decline nationwide was the implementation in 1994 of a major public health campaign called Back to Sleep. And that resulted in a 50% reduction in babies being put to sleep on their stomach and an immediate 40% reduction. So it's an effective public health campaign. The messages about SIDS risk reduction are still needed. There's always new parents. There's always new child care providers. And so that is why the Public Health Department is asking the board to declare October 2007 as SIDS Awareness Month. We have other activities that we're conducting. We're going to be sending, and we have examples, materials to child care providers, community service agencies, and to local physicians to reach child care providers. 20% of SIDS deaths occur in child care settings. And also, SIDS has a seasonal pattern to it. SIDS deaths are more likely to occur during the fall and winter than they are to occur in the spring and summer. We'll be sending these materials and asking physicians to give them to parents of infants. And we're placing local articles. The health officer is writing an article for the Union Democrat that will be on SIDS, and placing an article in a newsletter for child care providers. In California, there's a mandated program to provide supportive services to families and caregivers who experience a SIDS death. And a public health nurse provides crisis intervention, grief support, referral to support groups, as well as basic education services. In each county, this mandated SIDS support service is provided through the Public Health Department's Maternal and Child Health Program. And some of you know Robin Bunch, but I'd like to introduce her. This is Ms. Robin Bunch. She's the public health nurse in the health department who provides the local SIDS support services to our families. And with that, we will take any questions.
Any questions or comments from the board? I have just two. One, I may have missed this, but is there an established age parameter for the victims of SID?
First year of life, is that what you're asking? Right. With actually it being between month 1 and month 6, where 95% of those deaths occur. But it's generally considered a sudden, unexplained death of an infant, which is through 12 months.
My other question is, I've been associated with victims of SID, and I'm wondering if a child's death is diagnosed as SID, is there some sort of an automated counseling program for the parents? Because sometimes I realize the guilt is overwhelming. Does that kick in automatically rather than waiting for somebody to see?
What's automatic is the notification to the Public Health Department. The public health nurse is responsible for creating those linkages to those types of support services.
Okay. Thank you.
And that notification comes from the coroner's office directly to the Public Health Department.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there a motion for this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries on a 5-0. Moving on to item number 9, public hearing and possible board action to consider comments on upcoming CDBG programs.
Good morning. Larry Busby, Central Sierra Planning Council. Just as a record-keeping issue. I'd like to ask anybody who addresses the board for this public hearing sign the additional sign-in sheet in addition to the county's regular sign-in sheet for the record. The purpose of this public hearing is to afford the public opportunity to present possible programs and projects for the Board of Supervisors' consideration for funding under the various 2007-2008 Community Development Block Grant programs. Most of the major Community Development Block Grant programs for 2007-2008 have not yet been announced by the state. However, this public hearing will allow the county to meet the state requirement that at least one notice public hearing be held prior to selecting program and projects for possible funding. Because other activities proposed for funding may be received by written correspondence after the hearing is concluded, the Board of Supervisors is not obligated to select programs or projects at the conclusion of this public hearing. When the Board of Supervisors selects a program or project for funding at a later date, the county will then be required to conduct another public hearing on the specific application for which the county will be applying for funding. In summary, the general and economic development allocations of the State Community Development Block Grant Program publish notices of funding availability each program year. The program year is from July 1 to June 30th, which is the state's fiscal year. Eligible cities and counties may submit applications for CDBG funds under the Notice of Funding Availability. Typically, up to $500,000 is available under the general allocation each year. Up to $500,000 is available under the Economic Development Enterprise allocation each year. Also, the Economic Development Over-the-Counter allocation can award up to $2,500,000 per year. Each year, planning and technical assistance grants up to $70,000 under the general component and $70,000 from the economic development component are awarded on a first-come, first-served basis. The department issues a small notice of funding availability each year under the Native American allocation. The Native American allocation is only for areas where concentrations of low-income Native Americans live and who are not part of a federally recognized Indian tribe or rancheria. Eligible activities consist of new construction for housing, housing acquisition and housing rehabilitation programs, community facility and public works projects, public service programs, and planning studies. Economic development programs and projects are also eligible along with the planning activities. Eligible activities paid for with state community development block grant funds must meet one or more of the three national objectives listed in the federal statutes, which are as follows. 1, a benefit to low-income households or persons. 2, the elimination of slums and blight. Or 3, meeting an urgent community development need, which is defined as meeting the need in a federally or state-declared disaster area. Basically, that's a summary of the program. I can answer any questions that the board may have at this time before opening the public hearing. I know it's a detailed, extensive program, somewhat confusing, so I'd be glad to answer anything either you or the public may have.
Any questions or comments before we open the public hearing?
I just have one. I know it's too early to tell for certain exactly what's coming in, but reading the tea leaves, are we as good as last year, or are things in decline? What's your prognosis?
The program is basically funded by the federal government. So the state administers the program based on allocation provided them by the federal government. Right now, Congress has not adopted the budget for this upcoming fiscal year. Nor have they done an appropriation for the Department of Housing and Urban Development where these funds are derived. However, the state can use funds from the previous fiscal year. What I mean by a previous fiscal year is prior to September 30th of this calendar year. If they have funds available, they can use those to issue the notice of funding availability of the Community Development Block Grant Program. And then when Congress passes the budget, they could allocate additional funding to this year's program. What the state wants to do or what they don't want to do at this time, I don't think they've really decided. They were originally going to issue the notice of funding availability for the general allocation in September. So right now we're into October and there's no word yet as to when that might become available. So your guess is as good as mine at this point.
No word on how the hearings went.
In general, the block grant program has been receiving less and less money each year from Congress.
Any other questions or comments from the board at this time? Okay, we can open the public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak to this issue, would like to get you all sworn in at the same time. So if you intend to speak to this issue at all, could you please stand now and have the clerk swear you in? And for the benefit of those that may have missed this, I'll just reiterate, the purpose of the public hearing will be to give citizens an opportunity to make their comments known regarding what types of eligible activities the county should be applying for under the state CDBG program. So I'll invite the first person to come up to the podium. There are actually 2 sign-in sheets up here today, so try to remember to sign them both. You left it up there, Larry? Thank you.
Hi, morning. My name is Ernie LaCarvabor. I'm with Motherlode Job Training, and I'm here in support of the county's application for CDBG funding. This has really been a real needed service that we provide for Calaveras residents. We operate a one-stop employment resource center in 4 counties, and with the CDBG funding, it allows us to leverage other grants that we apply for under the Workforce Investment Act. And without the CDBG funding, we're not able to provide direct services to our community members that are not duplicated services. They are not available for a lot of individuals because they don't fall under certain guidelines for other agencies' requirements. So with that, it's real important that we support that needed resource, and Motherlode is willing to step up to the plate and help in the application process. In fact, I've even shared with Karen, volunteered my services to help with that process. So with that, we're here to help. We don't want to just take. We want to help in providing that service as well and acquiring those funds. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Frank Meyer with Habitat for Humanity. Nice to see you again, Brent. I would like to make a pitch to be sure that housing remains high on the list of activities that could be funded by this program. We don't have a specific project at this time to bring to you, but we're in the process of developing something. So hopefully we can get some help with this, because we're set up to do our own fundraising for building houses, no problem, but it's all the other costs involved in doing this that is giving us headaches. The cost of land acquisition is really skyrocketed, as you all know. Even though right now it's a little period of leveling off, it's still a problem. We've had to put our own money into buying land, and so that's slowed down our ability to construct houses. Then there's all the cost of infrastructure and hookups and all of that stuff. So we're looking for other sources of funding. We will not take funding to construct actual housing, for which we can't use CDBG anyway. But for trying to fund the acquisition of land and the development of infrastructure, Habitat for Humanity has in the past been able to obtain assistance, and we hope that will continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Heather Myers. I live in West Point. I'm a single mother, and I'm currently doing the work experience program under another agency's requirements. And it's a volunteer position right now, meaning I don't get paid for it. I get paid mileage. However, the vehicle that I drive and the distance that I have to drive every week and the price of gas creates a hardship, as 2 weeks worth of mileage gets me 4 days of gas. If under this program I would get the opportunity to do a paid work experience position, it would help to ease the hardship of dipping into other monies funding, budgeted for bills and stuff for my household, rather than having to pay gas to go to a job where I don't get paid for time. This is a good program. I've tripled the number of job interviews I've been able to go on because of the resources that have been made available to me through the work experience program. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Good morning. Mary Sawicki, Director of Calaveras Works and Human Service Agency. I sincerely appreciate the opportunity to in any way help shape or provide information in our future application for the block grant. In your packets, hopefully before you, is some statistics about the department's use of the rental assistance program for deposits for many of our homeless individuals or low-income individuals. If you could take a look at the report, we spent in just 8 months over $21,000 on deposits. But at the same time, if you take a look, we've already gotten back over $3,800 that people have been paying back because this is a loan program. And so it enables people to have the deposit when they need it in order to get appropriate housing, and at the same time, it's a loan and they pay it back as they are able, and they are doing that. And so I sincerely hope that if we do indeed receive the block grant again and there's an appropriate funding, we'd like to request that this program be considered for funding again. Thank you.
Good morning, Jeannie Boyce, Director of the Health Services Agency, and also wearing a different hat, volunteer member of the Board of Directors for Human Resources Council. And I thank the board, welcome Brent, for the support of the community development block grants in the past. We don't have a specific project, but this community development block grants are really important to support the infrastructure for low-income people, whether it's rental assistance or housing and repair, so that we can get persons who are in recovery from substance abuses or mental illness who don't have funding for first and last month. The rental assistance program really helps them get started in an environment, in a new living unit that otherwise they would not be able to afford. For Human Resources Council, CDBG funding, both program income and grant funds have supported the development of the new food bank, a community facility project. The land has been purchased. We're in the process of raising funds to build the building, and we are seeing more and more families who need assistance with food. And so, although we don't have a specific request from the Human Resources Council before you today, I just encourage the board to look at the CDBG funding as a way to support our low-income folks in the community. So thank you.
Good morning.
My name is Jacqueline Jarvis. I am a client of Mother-Lode Job Training, and the services that she provides has been absolutely vital in my progression in the workforce, with gaining competitive skills in a rapidly advancing field, and working with her partner agencies has allowed me to get established and reconnected with the community at large and become an asset rather than just a financial burden on our system.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Anyone else? Going once? Going twice?
Well, I have some too, but...
You want to go over there?
No. Somebody that used to be a CCWD board member used to get up and say, I'm not speaking as director so-and-so, I'm speaking as citizen so-and-so.
You're speaking as the queen. Go right ahead.
Well, I am sort of under public comment. There's something I have been pushing for years. I have never gotten any funding for it, but I'm going to push it again this year. And since Ed Pattison was here from CCWD, even though he's the water resource manager, I want to extend sewer system in Lilac Park. I have been, and since it allows for community facility and public works projects, I again bring that one out. We need to extend the system. I think this is a community within the Ebbets Pass area that could qualify, even though when you look at the community as a whole, economically it doesn't. And I want to dovetail, and I guess since Ed's here, being water resource manager, is looking at partnering with CCWD somehow through CDBG for water extension of water systems. And what comes to mind is Lily Valley when they were in here. We need to move towards helping those small water districts within the county who can no longer afford to meet any of the standards. And so that is another project I would like to have processed through CDBG. And you will see me again here next year saying the same thing. Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? We'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board for any further comments or questions. Are there any? Steve?
Just make a couple.
Sure.
It seems that there are a number of different approaches to using this money, and I just wanted to weigh in on my thoughts. We have safety net activities, trying to set some kind of floor or basement below which we won't go for conditions of food, the food bank, housing, and other things. We also have some of our funds are being used to try to get people out of the need to be in a safety net situation where we provide jobs or we develop job skills, we move people along toward independence. I don't think that we should be playing these things off against each other, but I do think it's important to have a balance in that approach, that it is critical that we find a way to help people get on their feet and independent. And I hope that we'll have a good discussion when we get the actual programs in front of us to try to figure out a balance of activities. At the same time, every time there's any funds available, we're in a position where we've fallen behind on our infrastructure. And this is infrastructure for providing services, and it's infrastructure for water and sewer and roads and just about every other thing that's out there. This provides yet another demand on a dwindling set of funds. And in my way of thinking, at least one of the things we ought to be looking at in all of these areas is consolidations of effort so that we can have a critical mass to provide the services. Water is a good example of this. We have at least, I think, 8 or 9 companies that are, or agencies, some companies and some agencies, providing water and sometimes sewer to a population that has fewer hookups than a small municipality. All of these have overhead that include directors, buildings, customer service representatives, and it seems to me that a lot of this falls into LAFCO's realm, that until we get a system that's capable of delivering services efficiently, pouring money into declining or even dying agencies is a safety net activity. It's actually not building long-term capacity, and that we need to understand that in order to wisely invest. So that's going to be a lively discussion here, but we need to think long-term, and we need to think about structure for delivery of these services as well as money to fill in the gaps that we have plenty of.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from the board? Larry, do you have anything further?
Not specifically, but what I will do is contact the appropriate individuals and agencies who made presentations here today to see if they want to follow up more specifically with the type of application that might meet this program, and then would recommend that it come back to the Board of Supervisors for review and an analysis of possible selection of one or more activities which would be eligible.
Very well. Thank you very much.
Also, that's not to exclude, it's a public hearing. That's not to exclude county departments, county staff, county supervisors from submitting projects on behalf of the county. And I kind of got the impression that maybe that wasn't made clear at the beginning.
Okay. Again, thank you. Okay, we're going to move along now to item number 10 at 10 o'clock in the morning. I guess we'll take a little recess for about 4 minutes. Wow.
That is a first.
I'm amazed, yeah. And moving on to item number 10, review of correspondence, reports, and various matters of concern. Supervisor Tryon.
I have nothing to bring before the board today.
Supervisor Walensky.
I have the Mental Health Advisory Board today at 4 o'clock in the library at San Andreas. I've got first 5 commission meeting on Friday at 9:30, and want to encourage all in attendance, all 4 of you, to, as well as the board, to come to the Lumberjack Day event in West Point on Saturday, the biggest parade in Calaveras County, and notwithstanding the wine festivities on the other side of the county, you could actually hit both in a day and have quite an interesting Saturday. So come on down.
That was this Saturday?
Yep.
Lumberjack Day. Okay. Supervisor Callaway.
I'll be taking the Ebbets Pass Property Owners Council on a tour of the jail Wednesday. I have Area 12 on Thursday. That's all.
Okay, Supervisor Thomas.
I will be attending the Central Sierra Planning Council and Economic Development Committee in Jackson on Wednesday. There are some decisions that have to be made about our continued participation in that. I'd like to talk to Supervisor Callaway and perhaps the former representatives of this board on that agency. And then also on Friday, I have to go to, there's a Mountain County's Water Board. I think that's listed on the wrong day. It says the 12th, but it's on the 5th. So that's the limit of my board responsibilities. I did want to pass on to the members of the board that I've had some comments from some folks that live down in Valley Springs area that say that the auditory or the what was it? The audio. Okay, the audio portion of our meetings is sometimes very difficult to hear. And I was just talking to Jason about that, and he said that he has the ability to turn up the volume on occasion, but there are certain members of our board that sometimes talk with the microphone in that location, and it doesn't pick up anything. So since a lot of people in our community depend on the cable TV and the pinetree.net for monitoring these proceedings, it would be helpful if we'd be mindful of where we're talking, like don't turn the microphone away. So that's not an admonition, just a suggestion. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Russ.
Russ, on the water stuff, it's on the 12th, the Upper McComely Watershed Authority is having their annual lunch at Pardee, and that's, okay, I think, what's referenced. So actually both are correct. There is a meeting on the 5th as well as the 12th.
Yeah, I have nothing to report, but I have a request. There's sometimes a little mix-up about when people will and will not be here, and it's nice to see you here today, Tom. And he said you must have changed your plans, but I'd just like to ask the board members to clarify if there are any board meetings between now and the end of the year that you know at this time you will not be attending.
December 11th.
From Rita, December 11th.
I have the jail standards committee.
Okay.
I am not certain if I'll be here next week.
Okay, so Tom, you may not be here on the 9th.
Correct.
And I get his vote.
And Rita gets your vote?
No.
We have an unsettled terminal illness in our family, and it looks like that may come to bear next week or the week after. So, I'm not yet sure of what our plans are, but I'll let you know.
But as soon as you do, you'll email us or?
Yes.
Very good. Okay. Well, we really took it easy on you today, Brent. I don't know. Like, welcome.
Yeah, don't expect this to be the pattern.
Maybe that was a huge improvement. I leave and there's nothing on the agenda. So.
I like it. I like it so far. And do you have anything for us?
Just a couple of things. I am back in the saddle. I'm even at my same old desk, which I thought was a little odd. But, and I'm kind of getting reacclimated and meeting new people and people I haven't seen for a while. I met with my staff. I'll be meeting with all departments 2 weeks from yesterday. I have a series of other meetings and follow-up. It's been mentioned to me by virtually everybody I need to get hopping on dealing with the issue of the land to the north of the government center, and I'll be following up on that part of it. I still need more information before I can do, I think, a decent job on it. I wanted to let you know that recruitment for the CIO position is partially moving forward. There's already been an ad in the International City County Managers Association newsletter. That's considered the national level of recruitment, and it's used by everybody in the field. That's out already. The flyer and all the rest of that from Ralph Anderson I have, and I thought I might get a chance to review here at the meeting. I haven't read it yet, but I will today. So that will be moving along quickly. I know there's one other thing I'm missing. I want to remind you, Monday's a holiday. Offices are closed. It's Columbus Day, so I say that particularly for Tom. In the old days, I remember Tom came to work one day thinking it was a Monday board meeting, and there wasn't a meeting. Remember that?
Yeah, and I got all kinds of good policy decisions made that day.
And I thought I'd just pass on. It's always interesting to see how the outside world looks at Calaveras County, and recently came across 2 articles. Going down for a Giants game, stayed at the Hyatt, obviously a nice restaurant, or nice hotel. Some restaurant thing called San Francisco. Every city seems to have their version. It's full of San Francisco articles. Right in the middle is a Sweeter Napa, the enclave of Murphys in the Sierra foothills, and it goes on. It's a very nice article. But the one that actually got more attention to me is a weekend edition of the Wall Street Journal. Kind of sometimes focuses on retirement or investment, but there's a full-page article called Striking Gold. The date is September 22nd, 23rd. Very nice article about Murphy's, full of quotes from folks in town, Bob Reagan, Michelle Platnick, Cynthia Trigg, and a few others. So very nice article, 2 very nice within a 30-day period.
I understand there's one on the New York Times, too.
I haven't, well,
I'll have to.
Maybe somebody else said that to me, and it may be the Wall Street Journal one. It's just interesting to see, so it's good.
I'll double check.
So with that, the bargains are over.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Jones?
Nothing to report, but I should note that there was no addendum today.
Congratulations. How do you like that?
I appreciate that.
Okay. Carol, anything? Okay.
This is the first time in months that we haven't ordered lunch.
That's true.
So
we could do that.
If it would make me feel better, we could do that.
No. Okay, we have one closed session today, Jim? Okay, this meeting's adjourned. We'll go into our